Center, and we have Dr. Alessio Fasano with us today to answer questions on COVID-19 and the vaccine. In the first part of this video, Dr. Fasano will present the scientific facts behind the new technology in the mRNA vaccines to fight COVID-19. In the second part, he addresses questions that have come in from our social media platforms and other avenues with concerned patients and others.
Good day, everybody. At the Center for Celiac Research and Treatment at Mass General Hospital, we've been receiving a lot of questions concerning the COVID-19 vaccines that the FDA authorized for emergency use the past few days. And I believe that there is a lot of questions. They are really stemming from a lot of confusion about these vaccines, what exactly they mean, who is entitled to take the vaccines, their efficacy, and so on and so forth. So before that, I really go through the questions that we received, I want to make a few clarification about this vaccines. So far, we have 2 vaccines that have been authorized for emergency use by the FDA, one from Pfizer-BioNTech and the other one from Moderna. And 2 more will be probably, authorized at the end of January 2021. So I have to say that these are extraordinary circumstances. And these 2 are extraordinary vaccines because these vaccines really apply technologies that are almost a decade old, but never been deployed in humans before in such a short period of time. So they are really one of a kind. And I want to say that in an ideal world, a good vaccine is something that you can deliver in a single shot at room temperature that can really cover a lot of people and will protect for a longer time, even forever. But these are not ideal circumstances, and there are no vaccines that fulfill all these criteria. So let's start by saying, first of all, these 2 vaccines, what are the characteristics? What is their bottom line efficacy and safety? And that is something that is in the mind of everybody. And then we'll go through the question that again we received. First of all, because of the number of doses that we have available, and because of the the timing of the vaccination, the target population right now is the population that is at risk, healthcare professional, elderly, and so on and so forth. Because for the herd, coverage, we need to really vaccinate at least 75% of the population, and I will explain why we are not doing there quite yet. The Pfizer vaccine is being tested for people aged 16 and older, while the Moderna is being tested and approved for people 18 and older. So a good part of the pediatric population is not, involved and approved for the use of these vaccines. They are based on a brand new technology, as I was telling you, that is what is called the messenger RNA. In general, vaccines are made by the microorganism, in this case the virus, that can be killed or attenuated, as we use for polio or for measles vaccines and so on and so forth, so that the entire bug is injected in the host, and this will instigate the immune system to build an immune response against this enemy, and therefore we develop protection against that. Here actually is a very different story. Here both this vaccine use this technology called messenger RNA vaccines. These are vaccines in which a genetic information that is this messenger RNA coming from the virus that will translate in a product. In this case, the protein is called spike that is necessary for the vaccine to bind to the target cell and start to reproduce itself and spread, is the target component of the SARS-CoV2 virus. So what happened is that they are injected as messenger RNA in a vehicle. They are little lipid droplets. They are called, nano particles that will protect the messenger RNA against destruction from the host. And here is another major, difference between the two vaccines. These droplets have been developed with much more accuracy because they have more time. But the Moderna company, so there is no need to maintain for stability the vaccine. These vaccines in extreme, cold condition, as for the Pfizer vaccine, that has droplets that are less efficacious in protecting the messenger RNA. So that's the reason why the Pfizer vaccine require the cold chain of -80, while a regular refrigerator is okay for the Moderna vaccine. Both vaccines, once this messenger RNA is injected, will be eventually picked up by cells of the host that will use their own machinery to translate this messenger RNA in the product, in this case the spike, that is seen as something that doesn't belong to our body and therefore instigate an immune response. Both vaccine turns to be extremely efficacious, way beyond where our most optimistic expectation. For an emergency use authorization, the FDA requires at least 50% of efficacy. And as you heard, both these vaccines, they go way above 90% of efficacy in preventing COVID-19 in subjects that have been injected by this vaccine. The vaccine seems to be a little bit less efficacious in people 65 and older, mainly because the immune system and the younger folks is more crisp in mounting an immune response. Both vaccines seems to reduce the risk of severe COVID-19 disease, but we don't know yet if they also prevent asymptomatic infections with SARS-CoV2 virus. So it's too early to say. But vaccines require 2 doses, a priming dose or a first dose followed by booster. The interval is a month, 28 days for Moderna, 3 weeks for the Pfizer vaccine. And both of them, they have, shown some side effects. And these have been raising, concern in a lot of people that have been reading, about, these vaccines. But in terms of vaccinology, a good vaccine should show typically some reactions that actually are the sign that the immune system sees an enemy is mounting an immune response. And indeed, both vaccines, they fall in this reactogenic category of vaccines. So the most common side effects are injection, pain at the site of the injection, fatigue, headache, some muscle pain, and joint pain. Few ever reported fever. And again, these are, symptoms that, by the way, are more common after the second dose, that are signs that the immune system is really kicking to gear, start to build an immune response is exactly what we want to achieve. However, the reaction that have been raising concern have been this allergic reaction to the Pfizer vaccine. This reaction, though, some are very severe to what we call anaphylaxis. So in other words, severe allergic reaction, were not seen in the clinical trial, but were severe enough to require hospitalization of the people that eventually received the vaccine. All these people, actually, 2-3 cases, were people with a history of severe allergic reaction. As a matter of fact, they both carry the EpiPen because of their history. That is, this injection adrenaline in case that they have, severe reaction. So we discussed about the store requirement, the reason why there is a difference between these 2 vaccines. What we don't know yet, we don't know the duration of protection. Again, these are vaccines that have been tested relatively early. These are the first messenger RNA vaccines that are being deployed in clinical trials at such a large scale. And therefore, we are in enchanted territory here in terms of, if this vaccine will protect for a short period of time, a long period of time, forever. That's something that we will learn on the go. And we will watch the reports that people have been immunized and when the numbers got large enough to understand what's going on. So all in all, again, I think that, I can, with great level of confidence say that this vaccine seems to be extremely safe, extremely well tolerated, extremely efficacious for what we've seen so far. For how long, we don't know yet. The reaction to the vaccine are the ones expected when you use something that mounted immune response. The severe side effects as allergic reactions, they've been seen only people with history of severe allergies and therefore are not generalizable. And finally, again, because of what I discussed at the very beginning, the limited supply of these doses that hopefully will increase over time, and because this vaccine has never been tested in a pediatric population, right now the goal is not to reach herd, immunization, so that again everybody can be without the mask and just relax with the, physical distance and washing hands and so on and so forth. This will be a goal that will be reached only when we will have this vaccine tested in the pediatric population, and therefore will be part of the people that will be vaccinated. And we have enough doses to vaccinate 70% of the population worldwide, because this is not just a matter of the United States. We're in a global village, and therefore this can be achieved not only when nations that can afford the vaccine, but everybody will be able to have access to this vaccine to reach that level of protection. So this is the factual information that we have about these vaccines. And at this point, I think that we need just to have the patience and wait how eventually these unanswered questions in terms of the few issues that are discussed about durability of protection, particularly, and when we can really reach the herd, protection will be achieved. In the meantime, let's keep our mask on. Let's keep our physical distance as a rule of living. And of course, hand hygiene. These are the three pillars that really have been able, when implemented, to really, minimize the impact in terms of morbidity and mortality of this virus.
Thank you, Dr. Fasano. Now we will turn to questions that have come in about the vaccine from our social media platforms and other avenues. The first question, do any of the potential vaccines contain gluten?
The answer is no. There is absolutely no gluten in these vaccines. There is no need to add gluten. As I told you, these vaccines are mainly made by this genetic material from the SARS-CoV2 virus, along with lipid droplets that by definition, they don't contain gluten.
Why is it that some people with celiac disease do not respond to the hepatitis B vaccine, or they require revaccination with the hepatitis B vaccine?
The reason why the hepatitis B vaccine sometimes doesn't induce an immune response in celiac is not completely understood, but it looks like that has to do with the capability specifically for that, vaccine against hepatitis B, because that's not shared with other vaccines that, we have available. They are mandatory to be used. It's probably due to the fact that there is something that is pertinent to the hepatitis B that is not inducing that immune response at the first, vaccination. I have to say that the second boost, if we see low levels of hepatitis B antibodies, in general is successful to mount a proper, protective immune response.
Is there a chance that people with celiac disease may not respond to the COVID-19 vaccine, or might need to be revaccinated before it is effective?
Again, this is related to the previous question, and the answer is we don't know yet, because we don't have a critical number of people without immunity in general, and celiac disease specifically. that have been vaccinated to answer this question. But all the expectation is that that's not the case, because again, this is a messenger RNA vaccine. When this messenger RNA is put in motion and start to produce a large quantity of these spike proteins, it will be just a question of time that the immune system will see this enemy and will start to mount an immune response against it. So the capability to mount an immune response to non-self proteins by celiac disease patients, it's comparable to the general population. So I would not anticipate anything like this.
Can you tell us if there has been any consideration given to what vaccine candidate would be the best vaccine for people with celiac disease?
Well, in terms of safety and efficacy, these first two vaccines based on messenger RNA are equally effective, and therefore I think they are interchangeable. If we got one or the other vaccine, it should work, equally effective. So I don't think there's going to be a difference. There are many other vaccines in the making with different technologies, including to use other viruses like adenoviruses as a vector to deliver this spike protein or attenuated vaccines. But also in those cases, I don't think that there's going to be any difference in terms of how a person with celiac disease will respond to one versus the others.
Which vaccine technology is most likely to activate an immune response, otherwise known as immunogenicity?
Well, I have to say these two messenger RNA vaccines, that again, it was a concept that was initiated almost 10 years ago at the University of Pennsylvania and never saw the lights of clinical application because of some technical hurdles in terms of the stability of messenger RNA, in terms of how to deliver this messenger RNA, how to protect against degradation, because messenger RNA are very labile and fragile when injected. All these technical hurdles have been resolved in an astonishingly short period of time. And I have to say, in terms of immunogenicity, so far, on the number of people that have been vaccinated in the United Kingdom and now here, it seems to be quite effective in inducing an immune response. Of course, the only time would tell us in terms of the duration, that in my humble opinion is the major question mark of this vaccine. So how long, if they are immunoprotective, as they look like, this protection will stand.
And here's our last question, Dr. Fasano. How likely are the mRNA vaccines to be more or less effective than more standard vaccines?
Well, this is a good question to which we will have an answer when we can compare vis-a-vis the mRNA vaccine-based remedies for COVID-19 compared to more traditional vaccines with attenuated Sars-Cov2 or killed COVID-2, or again, vaccine vectors like adenovirus, in which they carry these proteins from the SARS-CoV-2. We can't compare the past, first of all, because we never had a messenger RNA vaccine-based strategy, and secondly, because each different microorganism react differently when it comes to immune response. So we have to wait when these other generation vaccines against SARS-CoV-2 will become available and people will be vaccinated. So we will see if there is a difference in terms of effectiveness, particularly in terms of protective time against the vaccine. So this is the status of the art concern vaccination. Again, there is a brand new horizon that's opening with the advent of these vaccines that again were able to be deployed in such a short period of time. I think that again this would change completely the landscape, starting with protecting the ones that will be receiving the vaccines, and then hopefully moving to the herd protection of the entire population. With that, I want to wish you all happy holidays, stay safe, stay well.
Thank you for joining Dr. Fasano and myself today. We wish you a safe, healthy, and happy holiday season and new year. Please check out additional resources in the description in this YouTube video.